Hello friends, Professor Sex here. September is Sexual Health Awareness Month, and I have been working on a two-part video series, Sex Positivity and Body Positivity. This is part 2. In part 1, we talked all about body positivity, and I laid some of the groundwork and foundation for where this two-part video series came from and why this project is so special to me. So if you're starting with this video, I encourage you to stop, go back, and watch the first video so you can get the whole picture of what we're trying to create here. The first video was a conversation all about sex positivity, and I was joined by some really amazing folks, many of whom are back in this video to talk about body positivity. Just like in the last video, I brought this concept to Sex Ed Sunday, a community workshop that I teach at a coffee shop here in Jacksonville, Florida, called Coniferous Cafe. I am so honored to be part of this community, and the folks that are coming to Sex Ed Sunday have been joining me in building this really great sex-positive community of activists who are challenging social norms and unpacking myths about sex, love, and relationships. Just like with sex positivity, I approached the group with the concept of body positivity. We spent 2 hours unpacking social messages and media messages about bodies, what kinds of bodies are okay, what kind of bodies are a problem, and how are we supposed to feel about our bodies. The goal was that at the end, we would arrive at a group definition of body positivity. After 2 hours of work, I'm really proud of what we came up with, and I'd like to share that with you now. What does it mean to be body positive? Being body positive means maintaining a healthy, respectful relationship with one's body at every stage, while actively accepting the bodies of others as valuable in and of themselves. I am so humbled by the amazing work that my community here is doing, and I'm thrilled that they're letting me be a part of it. But the conversation's not over there. Body positivity isn't just up to us to define. And I've got some really wonderful individuals in my network who have some pretty great things to say about body positivity. Each one of these folks also contributed to the sex positivity video, which again, I encourage you to go back and watch. And I'm really excited to welcome them back on the second part of this series to hear their thoughts on body positivity.
Let's talk about body positivity. This is a movement that started as a response to kind of the really terrible cultural stories we have about what kinds of bodies are deserving and worthy. So it started from a place of recognizing that we are a culture that fetishizes thinness, that ascribes sexiness and worthiness to a very narrow piece of our population. It is to thin, young, white, rich, cis-abled bodies. So body positivity came around to try and help people realize that you can have lots of different kinds of bodies with lots of different kinds of abilities and colors and ages and still be really delicious and wonderful and worthy. Unfortunately, body positivity has kind of been co-opted. It has become something that is much more about selling products and selling really more of the same without actually changing the conversation. What you'll often see from body positive folks these days is, one, pressure to do certain types of activities in the spirit of mental health and wellness. So if you're not on the mat, then where are you? Believing that there's only certain types of ways to be moving your body, or even that you have to move your body in order for you to be displaying the right kinds of love. And speaking of love, body positivity these days is also very much about love your body, love yourself. You have to love your body before anyone else will. And it's so much about not actually validating the lived experiences of so many people and instead telling people how to feel. And that's just as limiting as telling people how to look. You are taking away people's sovereignty and their experiences. You're not recognizing the types of lives that so many people have. I can tell you, it's probably really freaking hard to love your body if you're constantly being told all the ways that you're not good enough, if you're constantly being fat shamed by your family and the people around you, if the only images that are available look nothing like you, I mean, whether you're Black or trans or have a certain type of visible disability, if you're fat like I am, everything around us is telling us constantly that we don't meet the ideal. And then body positivity folks come right behind that and insist that we have to love our bodies. And that again is taking away our autonomy and not recognizing the kinds of lives that we actually are living. It's super okay to not love your body some of the time or hardly any of the time. Finding peace and changing the relationship we have with our body is so important. If we really want to kind of take back our power, if we want to achieve liberation and freedom, but that doesn't happen in a vacuum. And so where body positivity is failing so many of us is insisting that we have to be striving for a certain type of experience, instead of asking the question, what is your experience and how can we support you in that? To me, that would be so much more liberating and freeing for all of us than insisting that we have to feel a certain way about the flesh that we're in.
Coming from a fat person, the idea of body positivity is I that's basically the best way I could sort of describe it. It's just like those those post-verbal sounds of slight discomfort but optimism, I guess, maybe sometimes. I don't know. I've had a long history when it comes to learning to love my body in the way that it is. When I spoke about sex positivity, for me, sex positivity is just accepting sex, as it is. And when it comes to body positivity, that experience means loving my body and mind and like the capability of both of those things as they are, which in a society like ours is tough. But really, a lot of times what we're missing when it comes to body positivity is support. It's repetition. It's visibility. Which is why when I started my journey to body positivity, I started exposing myself to more people who looked like me, both in my skin color, being a black guy, and being a 400-pound guy as well. So it's like immersion therapy. And it's simply nice to be able to see people who look like you. It's hard being as big as I am because that's sort of a rarity, that people are both visible and as big as I am. Like we often don't know what people weigh, and like sometimes you'll see people and they'll be like, in that 200-pound-ish range, 200, 300-pound-ish range. But getting up to my weight is uncommon, not so much where I'm from, which is Michigan, but it's more uncommon in like the public sphere. So for me, looking for people who look like me and finding them is actually not so hard. And I think that a lot of times where we come from really makes a difference in what we're capable of learning about ourselves and like how we're supposed to be. Because I'm used to being around people who are gigantic. Like Michigan people are just big, like we are. And then on top of that, I come from a family of people who are all six something, you know, just gigantic football players, big physical people. Even my grandmother was like 6 foot even. So like there was no way in hell I was ever going to be a small person. So it's nice to be able to look outside of myself and find the beauty in other people. Being as big as I am, like I said, there's not much visibility there. Like I can find them specifically on places like Tumblr, but a lot of times my personal growth in terms of body positivity overall has been simply in learning to just look at other people's bodies and be okay with them. Like as I record this, I'm actually sitting in my living room, completely naked, staring at my computer, and my partner is here waiting for fries to get out of the oven, also naked. And both of us are just like dumpy, Midwestern bodied people. But we have great sex and we have a great life. And I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to body positivity, a lot of what we're missing here is that people like me exist and people like my partner exist and people like Dawn Serra exist. Lots of fat people just being okay and happy exist, and really the only difference is a few pounds. So, like, why wouldn't we? I like existing in my fat body. I like being able to take up a lot of space and feel okay with that. Because, as I said, there was no way in hell I was ever going to be a small person. So, not enjoying what I was born into would be suffering, and that is not what I'm about. So I don't want to do it, and I won't. And frankly, that is all there is to it.
Hi, I'm Elle Chase. I'm the author of Curvy Girl Sex, and Professor Sex has asked me to talk to you a little bit about body positivity. And I think the big body positive note that I use on a daily basis is I take my negative thoughts and I turn them into either something positive or something neutral. And because sometimes, asking someone to love their body is too big a leap to take from where you are. So I ask people just to sort of accept their body, and that's what I do on a daily basis. If I'm having a negative thought about myself, about my body or anything else, is I notice that I'm having it. I will push it aside, and I will replace it with something positive or something neutral. And we all know what replacing it with something positive is I love my red hair. I like my earring choice. My makeup looks great today. But something neutral is something that you can't dispute. So I have red hair. I have green eyes. I put makeup on today. I am a living, breathing human being that is worthy of love and attention and great sex. Those are pretty neutral thoughts. And as long as we're replacing the negative thoughts with something like that you can't dispute, you end up feeling a whole lot better during your day. So the goal would be to get rid of those negative thoughts, but we're human and we're going to have them. So as best you can, trying to replace them with something neutral, something positive, really sort of helps me on a daily basis, and especially in the bedroom. So that's it. I hope that helps. And if you want any more tips, you've got my book to look forward to, Curvy Girl Sex: 101 Body Positive Positions to Empower Your Sex Life. Thanks.
Hey y'all, it's me, Dirty Lola. I'm a sex educator and a storyteller and the host of a live sex ed Q&A and podcast called Sex Ed a Go-Go here in New York City. So I wanted to share some thoughts on body positivity. So I've always been a big girl. I've been big since I was little. And I didn't always love myself. And the message going around, especially when I was younger, is that, you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. You need to love yourself before anybody else will love you. And those things, while well-meaning, can sound really depressing when you don't love yourself. Because there are days that I remember looking in the mirror thinking, I'm never going to be loved by anybody because I definitely don't love myself. And as time went on and I got older and my confidence started to change and my body didn't get smaller, it got bigger. But I started realizing that it wasn't that I was loving my body. It was that I was accepting my body as it was. And that was huge for me. So a big part of body positivity that I think gets left out is that you don't have to love yourself. And honestly, you don't even have to accept yourself. But I do think we have to stop and realize that we need to stop being cruel to ourselves. You don't have to be mean to yourself. You don't have to like yourself. You don't have to love yourself, but don't be mean to yourself. And that was something that was super helpful to me. The day I stopped telling myself that I was ugly, the day I stopped telling myself that I was fat, was the first day that I really stopped and looked at myself in the mirror and thought, okay, I'm not allowed to say these things to myself anymore. But I also can't tell myself that I'm beautiful. So what do I like about myself? And at first it was little things like, I like my feet, or I love my boobs. And then as time went on and I started looking in the mirror and appreciating these little things that I liked, I started realizing that I started liking more things. And that took a while. And it took a long time for me to get to the point to look in the mirror and think that, all right, I like this overall package. And there are still days that I look in the mirror and I don't really like what I see, but I kept the pact with myself to not be mean to myself anymore. So even on the days that I don't love myself, I don't even like myself, I'm never mean to myself. And that helps me move forward in this journey of fully loving myself. And I can say now that I love myself, even though sometimes I still don't. But yeah, I'm just here to say it's okay to not love yourself. It's okay to not like yourself. Just don't be mean to yourself. And, just see where you go. Just trying to be friends with yourself, or at least acquaintances. Thanks.
Once again, I really want to thank Elle Chase, Dawn Serra, Dirty Lola, Jerome Stuart Nichols, and Troy Capers for your time and work on this issue and for your contribution to this project. This has been really amazing, in large part because of your contribution, and I'm very grateful to you. If you're watching either part of this video series and you have your own thoughts on body positivity or sex positivity, I encourage you to reach out to me and share them with me. You can send me a video or you can write something and send it to me in an email. My contact information is below. If you give me permission, I'd be happy to share those things on my blog with my other listeners so we can all contribute to this community conversation about what these things mean. In addition, all of the speakers that have joined me for these videos have been working on some really amazing projects of their own, and they're all doing God's work to help make our communities more sex positive, healthy, and safe for everyone involved. I have links to every single one of these folks and what they're up to, so you can check out more about them and see the great work that they're doing. I encourage you to dive into the notes section of this video and explore all the wonderful resources I've made available to you. Thank you so much for watching.